Really, frankly, an easy time in history to do this kind of work. Those people, whenever they left, man, they packed their stuff in their coffin and got on a boat, and a lot of them never even made it to where they were going. I think they gave up much more than we did, and I think the fact that they went before us and sacrificed what they did, it's given us a great foundation to work on.
We come to that realization in life somewhere along the way that we realize I can't do everything that I dreamed that I could do. What can I go after? What can I die for? What am I gonna live for?
Jesus said this as well. No greater love has any man than this, than to lay down his life for his friend. And I think it could mean the ultimate sacrifice, death.
There's a narrative that speaks to a people in our own country, in our own culture, that are dying to find a cause worth giving themselves to.
I want to do something that makes a difference. I want to do something that isn't about me, that makes sense in the big picture and not just from my little perspective.
A cause that is greater than themselves, that's about sacrifice and action, and it's about being a part of bringing justice to people that have no justice, and it's centered in a relationship with Jesus.
I mean, they weren't going on a mission trip. They were going forever, and they would write a letter. It was like their last letter, their final letter. It wasn't just a will. It wasn't just, this is what I want you to do with my stuff when I die. It was more like a spiritual will to say, look, this is why I did what I did. This is how God used me. I want people to know that. And I want somebody to pick up the mantle. I want somebody to continue the work when I'm done, because I'm just a piece in the puzzle. I'm just a link in the chain. And so the last letter was really a way of passing the torch and saying, I gave everything, here's why, now it's your turn.
I was with my friend and her brother, and we were walking up the Nairobi River, and two street boys came from down the river up that way. They tried to snatch my bag, and my friend's brother turned, and what he wanted to do is to hit this boy and throw them into the river, and I was screaming and saying stop. But that sent me thinking, if maybe those boys had some food, if maybe they had someone to love and care for them, maybe they lost parents. In most cases, maybe they lost a mother. His mother was struggling to feed them. And so he thought, I am the old one, and if I leave home, maybe there'll just be some extra food. And they thought, they need to get away. The boys sleep just at the riverbank. They light a fire using some tiles. That is what keeps them warm. Everyone thinks, oh, some trash. I think we've done enough talking, we've done enough of criticizing them, we've done enough of hating them, and done enough of rejecting them, that now it's time to act. They need food, they need clothing, they need shoes, they need a shelter. We share Bible stories, we encourage them using the Bible, develop our love relationship with them. God sees them as people of worth. He sees beyond their dirt. They are dirty to look at them. But God sees beyond their clothing, their dirty clothes. God sees beyond the drugs they're taking, beyond all this glue that they're taking. I've met with them down the street, and everyone will be like, what are you doing with them? But I am not ashamed to be associated with them. I am not ashamed to be their friend. I am not ashamed to just sit in the dirt. I'm not ashamed to get dirty. I don't care what people say, because I believe as a body of Christ, we've heard the gospel. We need to be doers of the word and just hearers of the word.
Now, when You smoking? You say you smoking?
Don't take look, come people. I just had one.
Normally after you smoke crack, your mouth, tongue, numb, jaw
What?
gets numb.
No, hold on,
and your
no.
speech becomes slurred.
Well, no,
and
I ain't
sometimes
listening
it's
yet.
stiff
No,
throat
we
because
don't.
your jaw won't
And then
move.
especially ain't got my teeth.
And your teeth in there make it better.
No, look, just make me smile. No, what you want to know?
What's your name?
They think safety, safety. I mean, oh no, there's drugs, there's guns, there's prostitution. Yeah, there are those things. But of course, it's tired to say it over and over again. That's where Jesus hung out when he was here. You know, our first clinic was in Southwest Memphis, and at the time it was the most medically underserved part of Shelby County. We provide prenatal care, pediatric care, some specialty services. I do HIV medicine. We have several hundred patients with HIV that we care for. Our friend, his implication was pretty clear, like if you all want to reach this inner city community in Memphis, some of you at least are going to need to think about living in the community. Both of us, we had at that time 5 children. We were concerned about safety and risk and those sorts of things. And we did it nonetheless. We sold our house in the suburbs and we moved in. My 10-year-old had a birthday party 3 weeks ago, actually, and it was a Sunday afternoon. We were in the backyard, and about 35 feet away, just the other side of the fence, a couple of knuckleheads started shooting each other. There were probably 15 or 20 shots. They were in very close proximity. I had to lay on top of my 10-year-old, who was clearly frightened. But we after we had that happen, we got together as a family, we thought about it, we talked about it, and I said, well, maybe we need to put a for sale sign in the front yard. And every one of my 6 kids said, no way, we're not going to do that. We're not moving. We love this neighborhood. And I know there are people who think that that's insane and that would be a reason to move, but in balance, my children have learned how to face risks. They understand why we're doing it. They're in public school in our community and are connected. They're multicultural. They know why mom and dad do what our family does, and they embrace it. We've got a few years, a few decades maybe, to make our mark, and we're all going to face God one day. And if something happens to my kids, I trusted my children to God. So I don't want to be on top of any more 10-year-olds, but we're not moving right now. So.
You could trace this all the way back to the ancient kings of Burma, attacking their own people, oppressing their own people for their own gain. All the way up to now, there's a dictatorship that runs Burma that not only oppresses their own Burman people, but it also attacks the ethnic peoples of Burma. And those attacks are outright and have been happening since 1949, making this a 60-year-old and longest running civil war in the world. So there's about 1 million internally displaced people from that fighting, because one of the dictator's tactics is to enter an area, burn villages, make it impossible for people to stay, lay landmines, and then kill anybody they find in this area. Men, women, children, doesn't matter. And we've seen this ourselves. In 1997, the Burma Army launched a major offensive on the Thai border. I'd say over 300,000 people were displaced in about 4 months during that attack. Well, I was right in the middle of it. And I remember thinking, I got nothing. I got no gun, I got nothing. But I have some medicine, I have a little bit of money in my pocket, and I thought, there's no power on earth that can stop you from loving and serving others. Now we have 250 people on 52 relief teams, 8 different ethnic groups, Western and Eastern Burma, in the conflict areas. And we have tragedies. You know, I've lost team members when I prayed and prayed for them and they died. I think one constant reality is fear. You don't know when the next Burma Army attack will come. Health, in the bottom of a creek bed hiding for a month with 1,000 other people. Increased dysentery, increased malaria because people don't have shelter. Education. People have lost their schools, so they got to try to start educating their kids to get in the jungle. In the face of this, I think another thing is experienced is faith and hope in God. And they can kill me, they can destroy my church, they can't take away my soul, and they can't take away my relationship with Christ. And this is what you'll meet in the jungle over and over is happy people. In spite of all the challenges I named, the realities of the uncertainty of their life, they will say, God gave us this place, we're going to do the best we can with it, we'll try our best, and we trust in God. I haven't been shot at that many times. But getting shot at to me hasn't been at all the worst thing. The bigger deal is when you think you're going to get shot and you need to go somewhere. And then you need to pray, do I really need to go there? Because I could die today. And if I'm bleeding out in the trail thinking of my wife and kids, I don't want to be ashamed. I don't want to do it because of bravado or adventure or I'm going to prove something. I want to do it because God sent me. Otherwise, I can't live. It'd be a horrible death. I'm willing to die for whatever God wants me to die for. And to me, it's not so much what am I going to die for, it's what I'm going to live for. Because we're all going to die, for sure. Whether it's dramatic and abrupt or when we're older, we're all going to die. So the question to me is, what are you going to live for? So what I'm living for is God's kingdom, to be His obedient child, to be His obedient servant. Living for my family, to love them and be loved, and to nurture them and help them. Living for all my friends. I'm living for the cause of freedom in Burma. I'm living for justice. And if I'm doing any of those things, then I'm not ashamed to die doing any of those things. So if I'm in Burma trying to help somebody and I was killed, I wouldn't think, oh, that was a waste. I think it's never a waste to die for human freedom or human dignity. Be part of building up His kingdom for the good of others and my own joy. And that's what I'm living for.
The question is, what are you doing? What little something, what big something, what anything are you doing for mission?
Hey, I want to live for something greater than myself. I'm even willing to die for a cause that's beyond me, and it's because of Jesus. That's what Last Letter is all about.